I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and to remain standing for a moment of silence to honor all those serving across the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm a little old lady. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight to attend the Planning Board meeting of the Village of Woodbury on November 7, 2018. To my right, we have Robert Anzalone. To my left, Sandra Capiglione, Chris Gerver, Rich Cottagio, Secretary Gail Noggle. All the way to my right, I have our engineer Dennis Lindsay and our attorney Rick Golden. I'm Maria Hunter, your chairperson. No.
The other way around.
What did I do wrong?
This way.
I don't know.
And then
It won't go back in there. There we go. All right, now I'll turn it back on. Once again, good evening, everyone. This is our Village Hall. This is where our meetings will be taking place from now on. First item on the agenda, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from October 17th? If so, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. First item on the agenda is the Woodbury Diner public hearing for proposed changes to ARB and for diner located at 220 Route 32 in Central Valley and known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 229, Block 1, Lot 27. You're here. You want to stand by our imaginary podium for tonight? Thank you. I'm sorry, was I rude? This was published in the record. Notice is hereby given that the Village of Woodbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 7, 2018, at Woodbury Village Hall, 455 Route 32, Highland Mills, New York, in the matter of the application of Richard Spisto for proposed changes to the Woodbury Diner ARB. Said property is located at 220 Route 32 in Central Valley and known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 229, Block 1, Lot 27. Huh?
I didn't think the design that was coming before with the deck on it again.
Why do you have the one with the deck?
I'm sorry?
You have the picture with the deck on it?
Okay.
All right, give us an overview real quick.
There it is.
Okay. That's what I was,
Too many renderings.
yeah,
No deck.
okay.
This is the one that we received with the packet, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you want to give us a brief overview? You can use that microphone that's by Gail. Just take it out and you can walk around with it, and there's an easy on-off button.
Under one?
Yeah, the little button that go, see where it says mute?
No, I think it's on.
See where,
Getting a lot of trouble with it, so you might as well do it.
see that right there? This one's different. There you go. Now you're on.
One?
It takes a delay.
Am I on?
It was before. Jeff, what's going on here? Hey, technical difficulty. It's a delay. It should, talk now.
Am I on?
There you go.
All right, yeah, this is our, we've been here before. There were some minor changes done to the exterior of the building. The last application had brought in an addition of a deck to the left side of the building. We have since pulled the application for the deck. And tonight we're here for just minor changes to color, a couple of colors on the building, and a little fenestration change. Otherwise, the site plan and the building stay the same as they originally were presented. So at this point, I think questions might be more appropriate.
Well, the packet that you submitted on October 15th shows us the colors that you're going to be going with, which are, the stucco is already there, and the accent colors are on the building currently, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The cultured stone, I'm not sure, has that been
So it's the same as...
same as the prior?
original.
Okay,
It will be almost precisely what you see on the card.
yep. And the awnings, we're going with the terracotta, you haven't put those up yet?
Sorry?
The awnings,
Yes.
they're not up yet, right? Or-
They're not up.
And the metal roofing, it's not up yet either?
No.
Okay,
Actually,
those,
we're waiting for approval on the colors, but tonight we can get that to them.
Perfect. And the granite, with the granite accent with the ruby red, you have a better color?
Well, yes, I have the actual keys.
Okay. I think you showed it to us last time.
That's exactly what would go on the building, actually, a few pieces are on there.
Yeah.
If you want that as a sample, you can have it.
Oh, no. Board members, Rich, you're okay with this, Chris? The color? Okay. All right, so we're good with the colors. You want anything else to say before I go to the public, since it's a public hearing?
Is there any issues with the site? Gary had brought something about grass, brought up something about grass seating. I have the owner here tonight, if you need to.
If that's something between you and Gary?
This isn't anything dealing, tonight is not anything dealing with site plan. It's only dealing with architectural review board. Just the colors, that's all we're dealing with.
Yeah.
You've withdrawn everything to this point with respect to site plan, and any other issues that you're just talking about dealing with building code issues, that's between you and the building inspector. It's not part of this board's review.
So we don't have to review it?
Okay, so it's just the...
Just the colors? Yep. So if you don't have anything else to say, I'm going to,
No, I don't.
you can just put the microphone down for a second. Anyone in the first row that wants to speak? Anyone in the second row? Third row? Back row? Anyone else in the room that wants to speak on this application with the colors? With no one coming forward, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Sandy, that's twice now, they beat you. Okay, with all that being said, board members, what's your pleasure?
We got a draft resolution, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I'll make the motion.
You want us to read it?
I read it at home, if you want to read it for everybody else.
It's a short one. Imagine that, the attorney did a short one. Sorry, Rick.
The end of the year.
He's going to add on page 2, a public hearing on this application was convened on November 27th, and it was closed. So that was something I saw highlighted there. Page 3, specific conditions. No building permit shall be issued authorizing construction of a structure or an internal building development inconsistent with the architectural rendering submitted to and approved by the Architectural Review Board as part of this approval. Nor shall any certificate of occupancy be issued for any structures constructed except in conformance with such renderings. Any deviation from such renderings will require further planning board and/or building inspector review as the zoning code requires. Did you get a copy? You didn't get a copy, did you?
No, I didn't get a copy of that.
Yeah.
And I do want you to make sure that this is what I'm presenting, that is what you're approving tonight.
Yep, that's what we're approving, because that's what we have in the file. That's not a problem. 2, all light levels limited to 0.1 foot candles at the property line, so no off-site glare will result. The fixture shall meet IDA, LEED, or green globes criteria for nighttime friendly or dark sky lighting. Any wall pack fixtures shall include non-glare shields. The hours of lighting shall be the same as the hours of operation as noted on the plans. 3, there shall be no advertising of any kind on the, are we going to delete number 3? Because there's
No,
no.
what I suggest is this, is that we add at the end of number 3, right before the period, if and when the site plan is amended to allow for outdoor seating. That way you don't have to go back to ARB simply for that one issue.
Okay, so number 3 reads, there shall be no advertising of any kind on the umbrellas located within the outdoor seating area if and when, what was that last line again?
If and when the site plan is amended to allow for outdoor seating.
Board members, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, you're all right with that? All right. 4, there must be compliance with the village engineer H2M memorandum dated September 28, 2018, prior to signing of the plans.
And that should just have a sentence or something added to the end to simply say to the matters related to ARB approval. Because we had some site plan issues that are no longer relevant because that's not being reviewed right now.
So we're going to add for matters related to ARB
Only.
only. Okay. Board members, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm sure the applicant's okay with that. As was stated, there is no outdoor seating at this time. If and when the applicant decides to go with that, they will come back before planning, go back to the building department, and then you'll have them come back to the planning board. Signage on the building itself is not being approved tonight. They are working on that with the building department, and the sign on the road is in conformance with the size of the sign, and they are working on the sign with the building inspector as other stores work with them, and that's the building department's domain. With all that being said,
Maria,
Rick?
just the one thing, I'm a little bit uneasy that the applicant says it's only with respect to this rendering of the picture. There was an ARB material sheet that indicated the materials.
yep,
That's upon that, all the submittals are what your approval is based upon. I have not compared them to say that it's exactly those colors, what are on the ARB submissions. But to the extent that it is, that's a correct statement. But I don't want there to be any confusion later where he says, well, we considered only the rendering and nothing else, in case there's a contradiction or an ambiguity with respect to the two.
all right. So then can we say that these 2 photos that are here from the applicant, which we did receive, be attached to the resolution once signed by me?
If you want that to happen?
And that
will
would
be
cover
fine.
everything?
Okay?
Well, there's a single sheet that was also provided, which is the architectural rendering. The picture is dark on some sides. It doesn't really show the stairway. It's hard to see anyway from what I have. So this one does show the side stairway,
Yeah. Which-
the railings, and it's the same one, I believe.
Yeah, we have
D1?
that.
You have that? You want one then?
You
No, I have,
yeah.
that's this.
We have, all I'm saying is that, and that's in the description, the proposed elevations prepared by design group consisting of sheet D1 dated August 21st, 2018.
Okay,
All I'm saying is that you have considered all of those matters. If there's any ambiguity with respect to those, it's going to have to be resolved by Gary. And if there's any real problem, then it'll have to come back before you. What I don't want is the applicant telling Gary is, forget about all that stuff that was submitted, it's only with respect to this drawing, because it's not that way.
okay. But all that being said, and the changes, how's the board, we had a vote, didn't we? Did we approve this, or
No.
we closed the hearing? Do I have a motion to accept the resolution as read with the changes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, have a good evening. Once I get the resolution, I'll sign it, and I'm sure I'll get it. The resolution? Yeah, we'll just, there'll be an updated one, once I'll sign the one with the updated information. You're welcome. Can someone pass this down to Gail so she can give that to the building department? And you'll take this beautiful slate with you, right? Thank you. Have a good night. Next item on the agenda is Orange and Rockland seeker review for proposed expansion of the Harriman Electrical Substation on Melody Lane and construction of a transition yard located in Woodbury Common parking lot. Said property is known under Village of Woodbury Tax Maps for Section 225, Lot 1, Blocks 13 and 70.2. These are the old ones. Hello.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Lino Sciaretta, partner of the law firm of Montalbano, Condon, and Frank, here on behalf of O&R. We're here tonight for SEQA review and determination. Just by way of background, we were last here before your board in August. This project, just to give you a brief overview, this is a result of the future Inter-86 interchange. New York State DOT is doing some work. They've asked O&R to basically relocate some of our overhead lines underground, and that's really what precipitated this whole project. What we're proposing here is into construction of a new transition yard, which is in the rear of the Woodbury Outlet parking lot. And in addition, we're going to be updating our substation with the installation of new potheads and bus stands. So that's, in essence, what the project is all about. What we did at the last meeting, when we were here in August, there was a letter from the village engineer. We did supply you with a response to the various concerns and questions that were in that memo. They're in your file. And also, we also went to the zoning board with respect to several variances that we needed, specifically for height. The height was for the poles that were going to be installed. It was a 30-foot requirement. We had to go higher to 68 feet. It was also a variance for the fence height, barbed wire. We received, well, when I say received, the zoning board, we were at the meeting, and they granted, well, it was a straw vote to, in essence, in favor of the variances, and they said that for the deputy village attorney to direct a favorable decision be granted at the November 14th ZBA meeting. But they couldn't grant the variances because this board, as lead agency, has to do and determine SEQA first. In the August meeting, you declared this an unlisted action, declared yourselves lead agency. There's been no objection to that. So really what we're here tonight for is hopefully to get a SEQA determination so we can get our decision from the ZBA and ultimately schedule a public hearing on the site plan and also the special permit and any other approvals that we're going to require by your board. I know before the meeting there's a discussion about whether you're going to have that meeting on the 21st, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I believe you have a meeting on December 5th, and we would like tonight, hopefully, that a public hearing can be scheduled for this matter on that date. And the reason for that is because we're doing this project in conjunction with the DOT, and there's certain time restraints that we have, constraints rather, so the sooner we can get on for a public hearing, the better. So with that said, I have our team here tonight. If you have any questions regarding the site plan itself, understanding we'll be back here for a public hearing on the site plan. But again, if any other questions, we're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to tell us about the project?
Absolutely. So Doug here is our engineer. Can you just briefly give an overview of the site plan, Doug?
It was Doug?
Doug Moscato, yes. So in conjunction with putting these lines on the ground, we need to build a transition yard in the back of Woodbury Commons and 2 additional transmission poles. Those structures are all in asphalt in the parking lot in the back of Woodbury Commons. And on the other side of the lines that go on the ground, they have to come up at Harriman Substation. So we need to place a structure called a pothead structure where the underground transmission lines will come up, and a bus support, which will get the lines up and into the substation. So the Harriman Substation will involve an upgrade. The fence will be bumped out approximately 30 feet. It's all on our property. And that is more or less the gist of why we're here tonight.
Just as an aside, you mentioned the transition yard. If you remember, pursuant to your village engineer's memo, there was a question of whether we had to be and comply with the buffer requirement from the cemetery. There was a letter that we had drafted to the building department. Building inspector came back and agreed that we were not subject to that buffer requirement as a public utility. So one of the issues why we didn't schedule a public hearing back in August is because had we been subject to this 200-foot buffer requirement, we would have had to have redesigned our plan. So once we got that determination that we weren't subject to that buffer requirement, we were able to go to the ZBA and obtain our variances. So,
Board members, you want any discussion on either site before we go to consultants? You want me to go to consultants?
Consultants, yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to jump over. You can, Dennis?
Yes, we reviewed and consulted with Rick's office regarding the Part 2 for the full environmental assessment form,
Which-
wherein,
Which memo are we going over?
it's not a memo, this is
It's the EAF Part 2.
EAF Part
Okay.
2.
The last memo you gave us was in August, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the memo that we gave you?
I think it was August 10th.
August 10th.
August 10th,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
There has been no memo since.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Right now, we're just looking at, well, not just, we're looking at seeker and trying to determine whether there's one significant environmental impact or a significant environmental impact or not, so you can make a positive or negative declaration. We took a look at the comments that were provided. This is the traditional way that it's been provided to you from Rick's office in terms of, for those items where there may be some small impact, they've highlighted those with an arrow in the margin. The others, basically, it's no impact. If I'm not describing that correctly, Rick, you can correct me.
Yeah, unfortunately, the category of the EAF is none to small. And so the arrows that we put in there are simply to indicate ones that we think you ought to look at a little bit more carefully to see whether or not it's a small impact, because it doesn't appear to be moderate or large. And so, at least for this application, obviously it's done differently if in fact there are moderate to large impacts. We didn't see any. But what Dennis is going to be commenting on are those arrows that seem to indicate there may be a small impact on several of these categories.
Okay, well, I'm going to focus in on one, if you will. And maybe I'll mention a couple others. Under, first off, this is the one related to the O&R Harriman substation. Under Section 3, impacts on surface water, there's a highlight for the proposed action may create a new water body, that's item A, and the other one is the proposed action may result in increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any water body. I think that they were inadvertently marked with arrows. There really is nothing in that vein, so I think that you need not be worried. The answers there would be no. And the only other one I really have here is item D under that same section. It talks about the proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or banks of any other water body. There is a small wetland that's impacted here. It's not a DEC wetland, an 11.84 acre tract or bigger, but there is a small wetland here. They've acknowledged that they're going to get an Army Corps review on that. We're going to ask that they take a look and see if they can put a small retaining wall in, because they're grading back into the wetland. They're going to have to do some impact because of their fence line, but the total impact that they're listing right now is 870 square feet, I believe. And I think that if they put a wall in, they might be able to reduce that by half. It's a mitigation. Either way, this would not rise to the level of a significant environmental impact.
So is that where the fence is being bumped out?
That's where the fence is
Where
being bumped
the
out, on the
private-
north side of that site. And there's some impact in the wetland they've acknowledged. I think they can probably mitigate that by reducing it, but I would like them to take a look at it and see if that's possible. Other than that, there's another item that talks about the proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action. This has a small impact. Any construction that we do has a small impact on downstream water bodies. If you don't mitigate the soil erosion sediment control, you can have an impact. There will be a requirement for them for soil erosion sediment control, which would mitigate that. And again, for the amount of disturbance they have, I don't think it would rise to the level of a significant environmental impact. There's another item about the proposed action may result in or require modification of existing drainage patterns. I'm only highlighting those that have an arrow. That one, yes, it could have a small impact. There's going to be a slight different area here, but in your Harriman yard, is that going to be stoned in the area you're working?
Right, it's, right now it's existing stone, and we'll be placing stone in the expanded area, yes.
Right, so there would be negligible change when they're completed there with that stone. And that's the only ones that were highlighted. Actually, no, there's a few in the end. And the others are impact on aesthetic resources. Obviously, when they put up towers and wires and things like that, there's some aesthetic impact. There's a yard there already. This will be an increase, an incremental increase in the size of that yard, and additional posts, poles, that is. There will be, to the extent that it's an increase, that's the visual impact. In my opinion, it would not rise to a significant environmental impact considering what's there now. And those are the only items that were listed in the and I keep jumping ahead to say that's the only items it's not. There's something about lighting. There is a small amount of lighting that they're going to have here. Are you going to increase the lighting at all?
No, no lighting increase at all.
Okay. So it talks about light shining onto adjacent properties. I think we probably can eliminate this one if there's no additional lighting. It's what exists.
We're actually removing the lighting that's going to be there, so there's going to be no additional lighting.
Okay.
Yeah, initially, that's just to, a client just informed me, the original plans had lightings, but we had removed that in the revised plans.
And then the last thing is, and it is truly the last one marked in here, is the issue of a completed emergency spill remediation or a completed environmental site remediation on or adjacent to the site of the proposed action. They don't have, Napera is not too far away, and it's usually listed. You also have a spill prevention countermeasures control plan that's already in place, and that'll be expanded to involve the new facilities as well, I assume.
Correct.
So I don't think there's anything further on that one.
Dennis, when you say spilled, is that for the oil?
Yes.
Okay.
The transformers contain oil typically.
The Harriman substation has transformers and oil breakers that have oil in them, and
How much oil is in them?
the breakers probably less than 1,000 gallons. The transformers, I can't say, I don't know offhand. I'm sure it's over 1,000 gallons. I do not know the exact amount. And every substation that we have has an SPCC, a spill prevention control and countermeasure plan, which will be upgraded and updated for our expanded yard. We're not proposing any equipment that has oil, so there will be no new equipment with oil being installed. In the future, we are actually removing all of our oil breakers and replacing them with gas breakers. We have been doing that for the last couple of years, and we'll be continuing that until all the oil breakers have been removed.
But these ones are still going to have the oil?
The breakers that are there right now will still be there until they come into the program to be removed, which is actively going on.
Okay. And if there is a spill, I saw there's a containment. How does, I don't know how that works. So how,
So we, at this substation, we have secondary oil containment walls, which are, you saw on the plans, and they're around our transformers and oil breakers, and they are block walls above grade and concrete, about 4 feet deep. If there's a drip, we will see that every month. Our substations are inspected. If there's a drip, that will be caught before it's even in the ground. If there's a catastrophic failure, our alarms will go off, and we will respond to the site, and we will remove the soil that is within the oil containment.
what is something that could be a catastrophic failure? What would cause a catastrophic failure?
That's a good question. I haven't seen one.
Okay. No, I didn't know if it was something weather-related or, if somebody sabotaged it or how.
Well, we remove all of our older equipment so that nothing like this could possibly happen. Most of all the gas breakers obviously will not have oil in them.
Right.
Sabotage certainly could cause a failure. I don't know about catastrophic failure. It could cause a leak.
Okay.
But are self-contained within these oil containment structures, the containment structures. And our equipment is in the middle of the yard. We have our fence, our security system is up and monitoring.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And just to point out with the wetland disturbance, the permanent disturbance is .024 acres of permanent disturbance of the wetland. So again, just to reiterate your point, it is minimal.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, Dennis, if you want to.
Okay. I don't know if you want me to go over in detail all the items in the Woodbury Common. That was the Harriman substation. In Woodbury Common, I will say this, that visual impact is going to change because this is not there now, and it's going to be there. There are towers, though, that run across the site. They will be eliminated in the course of this work. So you're taking something that runs across Woodbury Common, closer to Route 32, and you replace it with some structures that are in the back towards, in a lower area in Woodbury Common towards the cemetery area. We have it noted as a potential, or Rick Soft has it noted as a small impact, and I think it wouldn't rise to the level of significant environmental impact because of the nature of where it is and what it's replacing. And there's the standard one on impacts on plants and animals, because anytime you do some work, but this is in an area that's already right now, all of it's paved, and so they're replacing some of that. I think when you take out the pavement, some areas you're making stone,
That's
correct?
correct.
And unless you have any questions on the items in here, I think, I'm not going to dwell on the others. There's historic, it pops up on historic places simply because there is something in the area, but this won't have an effect on a historic site. It's probably the cemetery.
Okay. Any comments or questions about Woodbury Common? Okay.
With, as you know, we provided the Part 2. Looking at it from the point of view of the seeker regulations and the thresholds that they talk about as to what is significant or not in their workbook, and more particularly in the guidance document.
We didn't, we
Yeah, I thought. I
didn't
was
get
just
part
missing
two.
it.
That's what we're just going over.
We didn't get
Right, but we
copies of
them.
them.
Get part two. We have part one, but we didn't get part two.
We're going off of what your
I'm writing
report-
notes as to what you're saying because I thought I was the only one that didn't have it.
No. We never got copies of the part two.
Okay.
So we're going by your guidance now,
Okay.
right?
You've heard Dennis. There are very few things that were even potentially small. Almost all of them were none. And from a legal point of view, as to the thresholds where the DEC sort of gives you examples of what are significant adverse, in my opinion, there's nothing that even approaches it on this. So it seems clear that this would be under the DEC guidelines and regulations appropriate for a negative declaration.
Neg deck, you said? Okay.
You also you haven't yet assumed lead agency, so you'd have to do that as well.
Yep, I have that on here. Board members, do you have any further questions for Rick or Dennis in regard to,
I have a question for the applicants.
okay?
What security measures are placed to watch it, transformers from sabotage? I mean, you don't have to describe what it is, but is there security measures put in place?
There are security measures, some of which I cannot tell you
No, I
about, but
want that.
what I can tell you about are, for example, fencing that the ZBA looked at and looked at favorably. The fences will be higher than what your code allows. I believe in one area we have 12-foot high fences with a foot of barbed wire on top. So that's already, again, the ZBA already went through that and they discussed it in terms of security, and they were all in favor of it. So there are other items as well, but again, those are really for us to know, and there are security measures in place and protocols that we follow all across for all our substations and transmission yards throughout our area.
I remember the Harriman substation, someone tried to dynamite that area, or they did back in 1978.
Bombed it. Joe Martin.
Right, we can say that there are security cameras at Harriman Substation along the fence line monitoring.
And there'll be cameras at the Woodbury Common site as well?
We are not proposing cameras at the Woodbury Common site. That one will have a 13-foot fence. It's just
And
one
the fencing
structure.
has changed. Hasn't the size of the fencing changed, or?
Well, we haven't gone to a public hearing yet to have it shown to us.
No,
yeah. Yeah.
that was part of it, I thought, the size of the fencing.
Right, we used to propose a 2-inch mesh, and we've gone to a bit of a smaller mesh.
2-inch mesh, okay. Anything else, Robert?
No, that's it.
With the security measurements that you do have in place currently and what you will do for the one at Woodbury Common, I'm sure you're working closely with the local police department, and they know what's going on.
That's correct.
Okay. And also, this is something for Rick, when we go into a resolution down the road, placard signs, emergency contact, 24-hour. I'm sure there's one down at the Harriman Station, that there's one at Woodbury Common.
Yeah, there's one there at the fence, you said, as well?
Okay, and then also with that, to make sure that the Woodbury Police Department and Woodbury Fire Department have that type of information as well. Rick will make that part of the resolution, that everyone knows and understands what's going on. Because Harriman Substation, I think Harriman Fire Department covers that, or do we cover that in Woodbury? I'm not sure, but we can clarify that. We don't need to answer that now. That's my concerns, and the fence, like you said, you're before the ZBA. Sandy, anything else you want to make comment on?
just the question on the wetlands. It says additionally, in accordance with the village code, the applicant will need a local freshwater wetland permit. We give that permit?
Gary's, yes. We would be issuing a wetlands permit. If Gary finds that it falls under the code, I believe it does.
Okay, and when does that happen in the process?
It's got to happen in connection with, it's another regulatory requirement that they have.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's just the last question I had.
Okay. Chris, thoughts, concerns?
With the removal of the transmission towers, the wood transmission towers, will the soil be tested for the contaminants that are in the poles themselves to see if the soil's been contaminated as those poles are pulled out, the preservatives and that are in them? And will that be remediated if it's found to be in the soil? Because they do go through schoolyards.
Yeah, that's something we can get back to you on, because it's something that another engineer will have to answer, but we can address at the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay. And like, there's also poles within Woodbury Common, not just the schools.
To the parking lot, as opposed to
Well,
a
true.
playground.
All right. Anything else? Rich? Good. All right. Before I go any further and forget, lead agency, notices were sent out. Do we have a motion to declare ourselves lead agency on this? And if so, who's making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's for lead agency. I'll offer a motion that we declare this a negative declaration. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Neg deck, okay. So that's cleared up. Now you can proceed on to the zoning board with that information.
That's correct, and what I'd also love to have this evening is just a scheduling of the public hearing for site plan, special permit, and any other regulatory, the wetlands permit I know we're going to need, so if we can get that scheduled tonight as well.
All right, with all that being said, I'm going to be here I will be here on the 5th. I'm going. I'll offer a motion that we schedule a public hearing for December 5th and request that the attorney draft a resolution for us to discuss that night.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I have a quick question, if I could ask the applicant.
Yeah.
We received revised plans, okay? They have a new date on them. I started looking through them for some things. I don't know all that you changed in there. Could you give us a list of what has been changed? And did that try to address the comments that we had in our,
They did. The revised plans that you received addressed the items that you had in your August 10th memo. So whatever you had pertaining to the actual plan itself, they should be all addressed in your most recent submission. I think it was the October 24th set that you have.
okay, great, thanks.
Being that there's a ZBA meeting next week, could you send a letter to the ZBA chairperson, Dennis, so they understand that what we did tonight?
Sure thing.
All right, so
And we'll advise Mr. Donnelly as well that you approved the neg deck tonight, so we'll let him know as well.
yeah, so as long as we have it from Dennis's office, then we're good with that. Anything else from the board members on this application?
See you on the 5th, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I shouldn't stretch.
But we should. Oh, okay.
I didn't have one.
Next item on the agenda is Feldman Review special permit application submitted for demolition of seasonal dwelling and conversion to year-round dwelling. Said properties are located at 15 Sunny Lane in Highland Mills, as known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps in Section 217, Block 5, Lot 10, and 20, is it 22 or 23?
I thought it was 22, but then.
I think it's 20, I think it's 23, because Dennis, you have it as 20, is it 22 or 23? 23, okay. Dennis, just let Maria know that it's 23, not 22.
Okay.
23 Sunny Lane in Highland Mills, and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 217, Block 5, Lot 6. Excuse me? You're going to have to use the microphone. You can take it out of the holder. Yeah, I just wanted to be clarified. All right, what I would like to do, give us an overall view, and then I'm going to take it for each individual. So we'll start with number 15, but give us an overview on both of them, if you don't mind, and identify yourself
Yes,
for the
and
record.
this way, it's gonna, actually, I want to do the same thing,
Okay,
on
perfect.
both. Based on how it looks, if you look at the survey for
Oh,
23.
we just need your name for the record.
Oh, my name is Isaac Feldman.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, good evening.
You're the owner?
Yes, I'm the owner,
Okay.
actually, and I took a long, whoever draws the plans for a GRF studio.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, actually, based on how it is built, how the house is now, let's say it's on 23. If you look at the survey of 23, you can see it's about 40 by 46. So in the same dimension, I want to tear down these houses and build up the same size, but it should be, instead of a ranch, it should be a colonial. Tear it down and build up a new one, 4-bedroom apartment, 4-bedroom, on the same size as built now. So meaning to say, it's not going to go out from the way it is built now, from the same size it is now.
You're talking about the
footprint.
The footprint.
Right,
The
the footprint, right.
Okay.
The footprint is going to be the same. So this is what I want to do for both houses, tear it down and build up a new one in the same footprint.
Okay. All right, so with that being said, let's start with the property that's at 15, no. Which one is the first one on the agenda? 15?
15.
I had the wrong one in front of me.
15.
All right, let's start. Let me close this one up. This is why I have two separate folders. Okay. So the 15 Sunny Lane, I just want for the record, we have received from the Orange County Department of Public Works on October 25th. They have we're okay to go forward. And also on November 7th from the Orange County Department of Planning, they have no advisory comments. So we received that. And we also received a memo from the Village Building Department on October 25th that was sent to the applicant. And I think that is all I need to update on that one. So, do you have anything further? Do you want to talk about 15? If not, I'm going to go to our consultants. You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
The same thing for both. That's about.
Okay. Dennis?
Yes, based on the determination by Gary that the seasonal use goes with the land, that it has to be before you for a special permit, as I understand it. And there is a criteria in your code when someone wants to convert a seasonal dwelling to a year-round use. That's 31026. That has specific criteria that you're responsible to review. The first one is that the lots must be located on a public road or on a road suitably improved to the satisfaction of the village board. When this was addressed a number of years back for some other dwellings along this, the village board took up that matter and made a determination that the road was suitably improved. And so anyway, that was your determination at that time. And it was done, village board actions on December 8th, 2009 and October 11th, 2011. And they determined that Sunny Lane as being adequate for year-round public use. The second one is that the lots must be served by village water or other such water system as meets the New York State Department of Health and New York State Public Service Commission requirements. We asked for some information previously on this. We received partial response to the information we requested in terms of, I think we received maybe a bacteriological report, might have received something else. Let me see, coliform and E. coli. We received reports on that. We were looking for information on the well yield, as well as other tests that are typically provided for homes that are going to be in year-round use. They're listed in the memo that we provided to you: pH, nitrates, nitrites, turbidity, sodium, chloride, alkalinity, and hardness. Some of those things have health impacts, some of those have other impacts. We haven't received that, and we're looking for that information. In addition to that, if we look at the map, or the plats that have now been produced and we didn't have back then, the subdivision for this property, 15 Sunny Lane, shows a well, but it shows the well in the public right-of-way, not on this property. Not far into the public right-of-way, but it is outside of the property boundaries. That's a matter that they would have to take up with the village board or relocate onto their property. I don't think you would have authority right now to grant approval for year-round use, knowing that their water supply is not available on their property, unless it was provided by a public source. So that's an issue that we noted with water. On the other property, and I'm going to jump to that one since we're on this subject, because the applications are very much in parallel. The other one does not show a well on the property. It does show a water valve on the property. That could be a mistake. Maybe it was a well and they just mislabeled it, or it could be that these properties go back a long time in their use and for summertime use, not year-round use. And there could have been a shared water supply. It could have been one well and it was shared with another home. I don't know. The applicant would have to give you some information, and we've made recommendations regarding there be an engineering analysis to make sure adequate water supply. So that's for water. The next item in your requirements for review is a similar item, but this is for wastewater. The lot must be served by a central sewer system or an individual septic system meeting New York State DOH requirements. We haven't received any new materials, but we did receive some materials when this was previously reviewed. They ran Casey Engineering ran a test where they put dye in and they took a look in the yard to see whether there was any discharge. We've asked for some additional information in that regard. We think that should be updated. Also, that house that at the time we previously looked at it was a 2-bedroom house. This is a 4-bedroom house. The requirements for septic systems are based upon bedroom count. So they would need to meet a different criteria if they want to put 4 bedrooms in this. So we would need an engineer report on the analysis, what the septic system consists of, whether it can handle the flow that, the capacity now, or whether it can handle the capacity that's proposed for a 4-bedroom house. And I'm going to jump a gun, but that's the same issue for the other property. On this property, if you look at the site plan, they show a septic tank, approximate location in the rear yard. If you look at the other survey, there's no location
nothing.
shown for a septic tank. It may just be they didn't know where it was, but they should have to investigate to make sure there is one there, it's not a shared facility, and that it's provided for in the property and it's properly sized.
Dennis, these are wells on these properties, correct?
Yes.
Once a well, once a-
Well, one shows a well.
Where's the-
There's no public water supply.
The one at 15 has the septic tank, but doesn't show the well. That's the one that's shared? you said?
No, the one at 15 shows the well, and
Where?
it shows a septic tank in the
Why don't
backyard.
I see the well?
Very hard to see. You see on the street, it says S 31 degrees, 38 minutes, 29 seconds east in the street. That's
It's in the
the
middle.
course.
Which
It's-
blue line? I'm sorry.
It's a little green circle.
Oh, that little thing right there. Okay. Water, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So that's water and sewer. The next criteria is the residents must comply with the requirements of the New York State Building Code for single-family dwellings. We previously advised that this is a matter for the building department. If they're proposing to build a new structure, again, that would be a matter for the building
There's
department to
none
determine.
for. And Where's the water on 23?
It's not shown.
It's not the water.
There's a water valve shown, you'll see right in the, is it by the driveway?
This is driveway. The shared driveway?
1 second.
I'm usually pretty good at reading maps, but my eyes must be getting tired.
Okay, yes, if you see the dimension to the front yard setback, 30.1 feet,
Okay.
Chris has got it.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Is
Sorry.
It's tiny, it's hard to see.
Right there, so
Is it that little thing
that
there
little
too?
W, right?
That's a water
Little
valve.
W?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a valve, okay. Thank
Well, if you look in the legend, they list water valve.
Right there.
This little,
Yeah,
That's what it
a
is.
little thing there.
It's not the scale.
Okay.
I'm sure you know.
And considering the fact that they put it in the legend and on the plan, I don't think it's an error, I think it's a water valve. So we'll have to find out what that is, and the applicant
Gotcha.
should advise.
All right, no problem.
All right,
Yeah.
the last criteria is the lot must meet the development standards.
I think the microphone,
Fire fingers down there, got it quick. Let's see, the lot must meet the development standards for single-family dwellings in the R2A zone, specifically density. In the last time you reviewed this, this was found non-applicable because they weren't going to change the house. It was an existing house, they just wanted to change the use. And so there was a termination, I think by Gary, that didn't apply. In this particular case, if they're going to knock down the house and put a new house on the foundation, or on a new foundation there, we deferred to Rick, but I think that this, this may apply, and they would need variances. But I'm sure that he will give you any further information that's necessary on that.
okay.
This also falls under ridge preservation. Before, they weren't going to change the dwelling, other than maybe a coat of paint or some other things like that. They're proposing to raise the elevation, or elevate the house, a larger home, and so it would fall under ridge preservation and need to have a submission for that criteria. And the last thing is seeker, that you would have to conclude seeker on this. And that's all I have for now.
Okay. Rick?
Dennis has covered it all. And with respect to the subdivision E of section 3-26, the criteria that you need to be following with respect to such conversions, yes, I agree with Dennis that in fact, this is not irrelevant as it used to be under the others where they were pre-existing non-conforming with respect to the particular home there because it wasn't being changed. Here, they are changing it, and in my opinion, Gary will have to interpret it, but in my opinion, then they would have to get any variances necessary with respect to this.
Okay. Board members. Rich, I'm going to start with you at the far left. Underneath the,
Little button in the back.
Rich, over here, no, it's different. Right there. There we go. We're good.
Okay, just need some clarification and some guidance, I guess, either from an engineer or attorney. Again, being on the zoning and planning board for the last 15 years, I don't recall, of an application before the planning board for a demolition. Is that normal versus a conversion to a dwelling? Or is that?
It's different, all right? And since I've been here, Dennis has been here longer than me, but since I've been here, there's been no application for
Okay.
demolition. Gary has indicated that, because there was an issue earlier as to whether or not they would still be a conversion if they're actually demolishing something rather than converting an existing building to a different use. But Gary has taken the position that the conversion runs with the land, and therefore this would satisfy as a conversion, even though it would be a demo and a rebuild.
In all my many years here, I have not seen a demolition associated with a request for a change for seasonal to year-round use. All the requests have been in the existing dwelling that I recall, asking for that dwelling to be used seasonal year-round. There haven't been that many, quite frankly.
Okay, again, I was just asking because I don't recall that. Again, on the test that they did for the sewer, going from a 2 to a 4-bedroom, when would that be done? You said they did or did not do a test?
They did a test previously, when they made their application back, I forget, it was 2010 or 2014.
2010, I have the reports if you
Okay,
want.
so they had KC Engineering go out there, and because we had asked for similar information, so they provided it. It was based upon a 2-bedroom house. There are 2 factors now. One, they're looking for a 4-bedroom house, so I'd want to, I killed it. So I'd want to have that information. Testing. So we would want that information to find out the capacity for a 2-bedroom home, for a 4-bedroom home. And secondly, now that we have the survey and I see a septic on one and I see a water valve on one, I'm concerned about shared use. So I think that the engineer, whoever reviews this, should consider that. And if they're just putting dye into a sink and expecting it to appear on the surface, and that's the only investigation, it could be going on a shared lot, shared system. So I think that they need to take a little bit further review of that.
So at what point during the application do we get to see this second test?
In my opinion, you would need that prior to approval.
Prior.
Prior to approval, the applicant would need to submit something. The criteria is this, the criteria simply says they have to connect to a public water supply or they have to show that they have site system meeting New York State Department of Health standards. I don't think that you could take an action subject to. I think that's fundamental and critical. There's only 5 criteria. So those are 2 of them, water and sewer, and that's most fundamental to the operation of the home. So I think that's necessary prior to your taking any action.
Okay, and then the other question, you said shared. You don't mean share one septic between 2 dwellings?
I don't know.
I never heard of that before.
I know that I've seen water systems that have that, sometimes by permission, sometimes a small district created and that sort of thing. These are old. Now, look, I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think it's up to the applicant to show what they have. Maybe they have individual wells and individual septic systems. I saw the water valve. It gave me a little concern, so that's why I suggest we get an engineering report that shows where the water supplies are and where the septic goes.
All right, because you did say that, somebody said, on 15 Sunny Lane, there is a septic.
It's shown
On
in the
the
back.
property.
There is one that they show a septic in the back,
On the property.
on the property.
And that could be shared between 2 dwellings?
No, it can't be shared. The action you're taking,
Yeah,
if it was a shared facility,
yeah.
there would have to be cross easements. There would have to be designed properly for both homes. I think there'd be a lot involved with that for your approval year-round dwelling.
Also involved with that is whether or not, in good planning, under your planning powers, you would ever want to do that, even if, from an engineering point, that could be accomplished. So, and my recommendation to the board, for legal purposes going forward, is that you should require that there be adequate water and septic for each lot, individual to that lot.
Okay, that was my next question. It was said that the well is in the public right-of-way, and it may need to be relocated to the property. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Or some other, as Dennis said, they may make, it's in the right-of-way of the village.
Yeah.
So the village possibly could allow them to do it under certain circumstances, maybe grant them an easement, maybe not. But the planning board, as Dennis said, the planning board can't do that. So if they need permission to have that where it is, because it's in the village's right-of-way, they may have to address the Board of Trustees with that request.
Okay, and then the last question. In converting this from I'll call it a single level to a colonial or double level, being that's going to change the character of the neighborhood, is that a thing that has to go to the zoning board? Because last time I was down there, I don't recall a house of that size.
Well, density is clearly a matter for the ZBA. This lot will not meet the lot area requirements, and it will not meet, from what I can see, the setback and side yard requirements. So there will be matters that go before the ZBA.
But but just to be clear about it, it doesn't go to the ZBA because it may not be consistent with the present community character. It goes to the ZBA because it doesn't meet the bulk requirements. One of the tests, one of the factors in the variance test is whether or not there's an adverse impact on the character of the neighborhood. But that's just something that the ZBA will consider. It's not a trigger to go there.
Okay.
I just want to step back on some of what Rich was saying about the septic. I've been here for almost 19 years and never seen a demo with a planning board issue here. But I do know we've gone from seasonal to year-round. But when we've done that, we've also asked that the septic, being that this is an older development, that the septic is in good standing, and that it can accept from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, that the capacity is, that's my concern right now, is the capacity from being a 2-bedroom going to a 4-bedroom. So that is also a concern that we have to have your engineer to look into. Because we've asked before for other seasonals that the systems, one, are in good use, good work and standard, and that this larger building can, it could be sustained.
Just one thing, I have done recently for a septic, well and septic tests, this within the last 4 to 5 months, and each of them have, even 23, probably the surveyor forgot just to spot it on the survey, but there is definitely separate, having its own septic.
And what do you have on that? Did someone do a study? Is there a plan that shows the septic fields or anything? How'd you get that
No, they
conclusion?
forgot. As I said, first the surveyor forgot to place them on the survey. This is one thing. And the next thing is I just waited for this one because if I have to redo the septic, so I'm prepared for this. Maybe I have to redo the septic for a 4-bedroom dwelling.
All right, well, lot size, other well locations has something to do with redoing septic systems as well. There's spatial separations between wells and septic fields. When you get smaller lots, that gets hard to accomplish. You put more wastewater into it, you could have issues with that too. But this needs to be engineered, this needs to be reviewed, and the information has to be provided to the board so we can determine what's there. But we worked with them what information we had.
Okay.
So any
Well,
tests
okay.
that you have done or will be doing with your engineer involved, we need to have.
But I haven't done it yet because let's go step by step.
Right.
I don't want to waste any money before.
Understood, but if you have, like you said, in the last 4 to 5 months, you had some type of septic testing, if you have those reports, if you can submit them to the building department. so
Getty
far-
has it. Getty have it already.
Whether you
they have 'em?
whether you change whether you change or convert the system with a 2-bedroom house or convert it with a 4-bedroom house, water and sewer is going to have to be certified. So having a complete knowledge of the existing wells and the existing septic systems on these sites, their quality in the water, the capacity of the water, and the ability of the septic system to treat wastewater is a necessary expense no matter what you do in terms of going to a year-round use. So you wouldn't be wasting any money, I don't think, to investigate what you have and to present that.
As I said, I have done some tests. I have done what Getty requested me to do. I have done in the past 4 or 5 months. I forgot the exact date. Have been done a well test and a septic test.
Okay, I haven't received any recent reports on water
Just-
supply.
I feel
Just,
sorry
uh,
for this, but
Just make sure, go to call the building department and ask them where those reports are. If they may have gotten lost, I don't know what happened to them. Just make sure that we.
I would
we
know
get
that I would
copies.
for sure bring it along.
That's okay, but you can always have them sent over, and so our consultants can look at them, and we can have a better understanding. All right? I'm just going to continue. Rich, you're done with your questions?
On 15 Sunny, yes.
Okay. Chris? We're on 15 Sunny right now.
Yeah, nothing right now.
Nothing? Sandy?
Yeah, a couple of things. What is the square footage of 15 Sunny right now? Because according to Orange County, it's only 672 square feet of living area.
It's actually a little more because there was built some extension before actually I bought it. It's the size of it's 24 by 40, so it's actually 960 square feet.
So right now, it's 24 by 40.
Right.
But I thought you said it was going to be the same footprint, because based on what you gave us, it looks like it's 44
Right,
by 40.
right, because I actually base it on the way it is built by 23. So by 23, if you can look later on the survey under 23, you can see there. It's actually
So it's going to be bigger. It's not going to be on the same footprint. It's going to be.
15 is going to be bigger, but it's actually the whole block actually extended a little bit. So based on how it is on 23, this is the way I based for both of it.
Okay,
All right, so,
but what I'm asking is if your footprint is going to be enlarged, it's going to be bigger.
Right, on the
Are you
15.
gonna-
on 15.
On 15.
And are you going to have a full basement?
I think so, yes.
It says walkout basement.
Okay, so then we're going to about 5,280 on the square footage, or somewhere around 5,000 square feet with the basement?
Right.
Okay. And as far as the village board approving this road, that was done in 2011? Is that what? That's what it said. So I just was
Yeah.
wondering what the criteria for that was, because when I drove down there, I had to back out so another car that was coming towards me could get out, and it just doesn't seem like it's a road, especially with ESO.
Right, what Rich was talking about almost 18 years ago, when we were down there were supposed to be bump outs, if correct for lack of a better word, so that two-way traffic could come in, move, and they're supposed to move. I don't know what has happened in the last 8 years. We would have to go down there and do
The roads in.
we'd have to do a site visit.
Yeah.
And we would have to have our engineer with us and to see what the conditions are right now, because whatever we find out, we would probably have to tell the village board, hey, we need you to take another look at this. Because in 8 years, times have changed, and as you're saying, that this is going from a 600 or 900 square foot building, now you're going to 5,000. Dynamics are changing.
Yeah.
So the village board will probably have to definitely be notified about this, and maybe we can do a joint walkthrough with them and us and our engineer, and to take a look at this, because
Yeah,
times have changed, and,
I agree with this one.
excuse me?
I agree with this. Whatever.
It's vibrated on the table. We have a sick child at home, that's why we're sorry about that. Well, not me, Chris. Chris has a sick child at home.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
No, I don't have any more sick children, I'm the sick child tonight.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't hear what you had said.
Use the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I spoke already with Gary about what's going to be with the road, whatever they will have to decide.
Right. Okay, so that's,
Yeah,
as long as we have.
that was my major concern,
Yeah.
just from my visit down there.
Right, well, like I said, we'll have to come up with a site visit when there's no rain, no mud. I mean, there's going to be rain in the next week or so.
And now, is that a town road or a village road?
It's a private road.
It is a private road.
It's a private road. It's maintained by the residents. And I forget what the criteria was back in 2010. We had 3 seasonals, and, yeah, we won't talk about that one. But the roads were supposed to be maintained.
It's typical of any
Yeah.
private road,
Yeah.
that most times, when there are multiple homes on a private road, they have to have a maintenance agreement.
Yep.
Where they share in the cost and the performance of modifications and improvements of the road to keep it passable, et cetera. Many times those don't work, whether it be in a bungalow colony like this or some other neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's always problems with those, or not always, but many times there are problems with those.
That's what I'm saying, a joint site visit between the village board of trustees and us and our engineer would probably be best, so everyone can understand what the site looks like. I mean, we've walked it from Bakertown all the way to the back cul-de-sac. Rich was there for that one, so it
It's
might be
just
time to
something
take a
that-
look. And it's
Yeah,
not
I think
just,
it should
just
be
not
done.
just your two properties, but for us to see the whole picture of what's going on down there.
But I think it's something that we should do early if that's part of the criteria for this conversion.
Yes. Like I said, as soon as it stops raining in the next week to 10 days,
We'll
maybe.
go to snow.
We'll go to snow, so that's something I'm going to ask for, because we probably won't do it on a Saturday or Friday evening. It would probably be somewhere during the middle of the week. And if we have to do it on a Sunday,
Good point.
so be it. So we'll accommodate and we'll figure out when we can do a site visit.
Yeah, what Dennis brought up is correct. Although it's entirely proper for you to look at this and be concerned about the adequacy of the roads, especially with larger homes, the criteria specifically in the code with respect to conversions, which is section 310-26A, it said that shall be located on a public road or a road suitably improved,
Yeah.
but to the satisfaction of the village board. So that's a village board issue. So
Right.
that eventually, and we have done this in the past, was that we get notification from the village board as to whether or not they've satisfied this criteria.
You went last time, you took the visit, you asked the village board, or I forget if you asked the board directly or you asked the applicant to go to the village board, but in any event, it was the village board that made the determination that it was suitable, and that's what put that criteria at rest in terms of
Right.
But
the
that, to me-
determination was made.
But to me, that seems like something that should be done early on, because if the village board determines that it's not, and they have to bring it up to some kind of standard, it's up, the applicant, maybe it would be too costly to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So it seems like that should be one of the first priorities.
All right, I'm trying to think of dates. Today's the 7th, next week's the 14th. Tuesday's supposed to rain Friday. I'm just trying to think of dates here. Any day, night, well, it gets dark earlier now, so we'd have to do it earlier, like around 4 o'clock. Or we'd have to go on a Sunday afternoon at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I don't know what, Dennis, what your criteria, what you're doing.
Well, I would prefer a day during the week.
I know you would.
That's, as long as you're asking.
Let me
But
just,
I'll-
where's my phone? I don't know where my phone is, that's okay.
Do a calendar?
Monday's too soon. I can't do it in the next
Okay.
couple days. I need to rest up my,
I'm guessing that you're going to take a look at this and determine at this point whether conditions have changed or whether it warrants a further inspection by the village board, and then you would either direct that, we write a letter to the village board asking for their opinion on that item or not.
Is it
Is that-
out of the question to go with the village board? To do it in conjunction with the village board? Just two birds with one stone?
we could request the village board. We can set our own site visit. We can invite the village board to join us, and it'd be up to them whether they want to join us or they can go on their own separate way. I mean, that's not a problem with me. I don't mind. I'm trying to look at a calendar here. I'm trying to get out of 2017. Okay, there we go. Now we're into 2018. Being that we talked about that we possibly might not be holding a meeting on the 21st, Tuesday or the 20th.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon. Let me just, I might be down in Westchester, I'm not sure.
That's where you
I
flip
can't
over.
walk. I'm telling you, I'm in agony here. I'm just trying to look at my schedule real quick. The 20th,
Wait, so
I'm available in the afternoon. I'll be back from Westchester in the morning. what does Tuesday the 20th look like for board members and for Dennis?
What day is Tuesday, 20th?
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
Tuesday, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not too late in the afternoon, because it gets dark fairly early
I
now.
know. So, I mean,
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock? I mean, but
I have to get my daughter off the bus, I can't do.
at what time's it?
She, 4:15.
4:15? Can we do it, I know, Rich, you're out of town, Sandy, I know you work. I could say 3 o'clock or earlier. And then,
Make it 3?
can we
I
do,
could do 3.
I know you can't because you're working,
I'll
right?
take the time off.
Time.
I'll have to-
But, I mean, you can, I mean,
It won't take you an hour and a half.
It won't take much time.
right, but also, I mean, to the extent you can have everybody together, and that's convenient for both the applicant and you, but to the extent that you can't, then anybody who can't make that can go on their own to do their own
Right.
site visit.
Actually, I have to
The
get
the
update
applicant's
ID card.
providing permission to go on the property so that they can do that, correct?
Right. If some of us can't make it, we're okay to go on the private road? Okay. All right, so,
Actually, I'm going to be at some point happy to take a look at it because you will better understand what I'm explaining about
Yeah.
the footage on the 15 and 23.
Right.
So I want you to take it there.
all right, so can we, barring any rain or snow or adverse weather conditions, hey, you never know. Tuesday, November 20th at 3 PM. Do we all want to, it's going to be tight to meet all down there. Well, I guess we'll have to try it.
We did it last time.
We did last time, at 3 PM to meet at Sunny Lane within, not on Baker Town, but to go inside Sunny Lane. First of all, I need to have a motion and a second to schedule this, or not?
No.
No motion, okay.
No, I mean, this is something the board can just do on their own. It's not a formal action of the board. You're just
Right.
having a site visit, as all of you know, I believe, although Chris hasn't been part of this before, but I believe he probably knows, is that on site visits, you can't talk about anything substantive with respect to the project. That you're there really just to listen. You can ask questions of an applicant or their consultants if they're there, but it's not for discussion of whatever information you hear. That will come back to the board, and you can discuss it in an open board meeting.
All right, and you'll make sure you're available, or your engineer to meet us on that, on the 20th at 3 o'clock?
23 o'clock.
Yes.
And you'll invite the village board.
Well, Dennis, you'll invite,
Do you need my number? Somebody should call me in advance, make sure that the date is.
Why don't you just leave that with us so we don't put it out?
yeah, you could talk to Dennis about that, so it's not public, so not everyone can call you in town. You don't want that, or the village. And Dennis, would you be able to let the village board of trustees be aware of that date, if anyone would like to join us? And then it's up to you to reach out to the village board of trustees about the easement with what you need to ask, what you need to ask them regards to the easement with the water, and they can let you know about the roads. So you need to reach out to the village board of trustees as well.
Speak together, see whatever they require.
Yeah, so you'd have to reach out to them. Sandy, do you have any other thoughts, concerns? I jumped from you. Robert, you're good?
I just want to know whether you could give us information about the current water supply there for both residences, whether there are wells on both property, or just one well, or are these wells old wells that were drilled a long time ago?
Both wells, on each property, there's a separate well. On each property, there's a separate septic. And this has been tested lately.
So they've been there a long time, though, right?
Right.
All right. That's
right.
all I need to know. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess your engineer will revise these eventually to put where the wells and the septics are, so we
Right,
have them. Okay.
right.
I know we talked about 15 Sunny Lane, and it goes with, anyone else have anything specific on 23? Robert?
No.
Sandy?
I just wanted to know, I did think of something else. On Sunny Lane right now, are there any other year-round homes?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Is it,
Do you know how many?
we did at least 3 that I know of.
I really don't recall, but I would have
Well,
guessed
there-
3,
there-
but I don't recall.
There were 3 applications. I don't know how many ended up getting approved.
Right, there was, I can't think of the gentleman's name. I know there was definitely two.
He was the one that was spearheading the
Yes.
roadway
Yep.
to be accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that,
Thank you. That's all I have right now.
yeah, all right. Chris, anything on 23? Rich, I know you said something about 23?
Yeah, just for clarification again, because this does or does not show a well. I
No,
23
It shows a water
valve.
valve. It doesn't show a well, not that I can find on the drawing.
so at what point, who,
They're going to revise plans for us.
Oh,
to
they are?
show-
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we just said.
Got
Once
it.
we get everything going and talking, they're going to revise the plans so that we have everything that's proper.
The applicant has confirmed to his knowledge there is a well. Now, he says he's going to show it on the map, and we'll take a look at it then.
and we don't know, is it on the property or the public roadway?
I don't know where,
Yeah, they'll.
Okay.
Yeah, so once they get that information, they'll let us know, and then we can move forward on that.
Okay, I'm good.
Dennis or Rick, do we need to do anything else with these two applications at this time?
No, it's really too early in the process. There's not enough information for you to really take even any preliminary steps.
All right. So at this point, we have a site visit plan. You have to get some reports. We have to make sure that the building department has forwarded them on, that you've done in the last couple of months. And then we'll talk about
I would like
everything.
to have this in writing, whatever needed, and follow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good night. Board members, before we adjourn? No, you're good. This is housekeeping. You're good. Have a good night. You're welcome. Being that our next meeting would be on the 21st, it's the day before Thanksgiving. I'm not sure whose availability. Rich, where are you going to be?
I'm good for the 20th. That same day we're going for the site visit, but not the 21st, I'm leaving.
All right, so Rich is not available. Chris, are you available on the 21st?
I am.
You are?
No,
Robert?
no, I
You're
won't.
not?
No.
Sandy?
I am.
You are? I might not be here, so that leaves only two of you, and we don't have a definite
Darn.
quorum. I'm sorry. Unless you want, two can meet and just talk. So I'm going to offer a motion that we cancel
Okay.
our November 21st meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Dennis or Gail, you'll let the building department know? Yep.
yeah, I'll let her know.
All right, and then on another note, board members, I know you've received at least 4 new applications in the last 2 weeks. Once we come back in December, I'm going to have to think about what your other days you may be available, because I may have to schedule an extra meeting in December. And I might have to have just think about it, because between December and January, we only have availability on the 1st, the 3rd, and if there's a 5th Wednesday in this room on a Wednesday, because the fire department meets on the 4th, and the ZBA meets on the 3rd Wednesday. So our days have kind of dwindled down. So I need to know what days you're available. Think about it, send me an email. Consultants, the same thing. Just, let's kind of individually send me emails. Don't do a group email, so I don't want a group discussion of what your days that you can and cannot have, I know you're busy on a certain day of the month that you can't be here.
There are many days of the month.
All right,
that-
so-
we represent like 13 different boards.
All right.
So what it is that everybody else we can usually find somebody in our office to cover if we juggle various things.
Okay.
So there's really, if I were to come to you to say, these are the open days, thered be virtually no days. So
Okay.
we'll try to juggle to meet the board's convenience.
Okay. All right, so-
Maria, we can go over the list. You've got the 5th and the 19th now in December.
Right.
And some of these matters, although you got a number, some of them are fairly quick.
Yeah.
Or they could be.
They could be. Because I'm looking at 14 Corporate Drive. I could probably put that on the 5th.
Right, and Woodbury Commons seems like a big application, certainly it is, but they've given you very limited information. It's more of an update on where they are. So although it's going to be a big application, what they've got into you now, I think, is informational and can be handled quickly.
All right. We'll, because
So we can talk about that.
we'll talk about it. All right, so just board members, just keep in mind that we may have to juggle a day or something here between January and December. Right? Okay. That being said, I'm going to make offer a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy.
Same to you.
Thank you.